Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about something that's hitting every single American right now, the ongoing US Israel war on Iran. It's already in its third month, and the numbers coming out are absolutely staggering. The Pentagon says they have only spent $25 billion so far. But economists and Democrats in the Congress and a lot of policymakers are warning that the real cost to America could reach somewhere between 630 billion and to some extent to a full 1 trillion US dollar. That's too much. That is not a pocket change. And everyone in America knows that it's a huge amount. That's money that affects your taxes, your savings, and your daily life for years to come. Not only for you, but your kids as well. Gas prices across the country have climbed to $4.23 a gallon. That's the highest we have seen since 2022. Oil is trading over 120 a barrel. That's magnanimous. And all these increases are showing up everywhere, at the gas pump, at your grocery bill, in heating and shipping costs, and in the prices of just about everything you buy from your grocery stores. So today we are going to break down the full picture of what happened at the Capitol Hill. We all know about the recent hearing at the Capitol Hill. So we look at what the Pentagon admitted, why so many experts believe that 25 billion number is a massive underestimate. And most importantly, I would say, what this war means for you and your family in the United States for the longer run. So stick around until we unpack all these facts. First, let's talk about what went down on Capitol Hill recently. So, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was there for his first major hearing since this conflict began. It was pretty intense session for not only for people living in America, but for Hegseth as well. The Pentagon's acting controllers stood up and told lawmakers straight out and loudly what he said that we have spent about 25 billion so far. Most of that has gone towards munition, keeping our equipment running, and supporting operations in the region. They also explicitly mentioned they'll send a full supplemental budget request to Congress once they have all the complete numbers locked in. So at the moment, I must tell you, these are not the complete numbers. But here is something that has raised a lot of eyebrows. In just first 6 days of the conflict, they had already reported spending $11.3 billion. Now, 3 months later, the official total is only 25 billion. A lot of people, including experienced lawmakers, policymakers on both sides, simply are not buying that figure. Secretary Hegseth got pretty defensive during the hearing. He pushed back against questions from Democrats and even some Republicans and calling them reckless. At the same time, the Trump administration, what they are doing, they are requesting 1.5 trillion defense budget for next year. That would be the biggest jump in defense spending since World War II. During the early phase of the campaign, US and Israeli forces hit over 13,000 targets inside Iran. So in the first 39 days alone, that's an incredible pace. And I must say, they moved ahead quite fast. And yes, There have been casualties on the both sides, less on the American side, more on the Iranian side. But this isn't a video game. Real lives are involved here. And the costs are mounting quickly. Now, here is where things get really concerning for everyday Americans. Democrats like Representative Ro Khanna and several respected economists are saying that the 25 billion figure is way too low. And they also argue that it does not come close to telling the full story. And Americans exactly do not know the full story. So Congressman Khanna asked a very direct question during the hearing. And what was the question?
Secretary Hegseth, tomorrow is 2 months since the war has begun. You've testified that it was $25 billion in cost in terms of the munitions we used and what we paid for it. But when you add to that the damage that was done to our bases and today's dollars for buying replacement munitions and replacement aircrafts, what has the total cost been over the last 60 days?
That number right now reflects the total cost that we're seeing.
Including buying in today's dollars the new weapons and replacements, and including the damage there? That's your testimony?
If there's
under
adjustments to that, I would defer to the comptroller on that.
And how much are you seeing in terms of, are you asking in terms of supplemental funding just for the Iran mission from this committee?
If and when a supplemental is submitted, the majority of it would not just be for, would not be for
what would be the
it would be
ballpark for Iran?
Munitions related to the entirety
Just
of what
number,
we want to
sir.
get done.
A number. What would you submit? What are
It
you
would be
requesting?
within the, on Iran, it would be less than $25 billion, but there's a lot more we would ask for beyond just Iran.
You're saying it's
considering-
$25 billion. Okay, I would just, if you come back, you want to revise those numbers, because all the experts are disagreeing with you when it comes to today's dollars and damage, but you can revise it. How much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed? Do you have that number in terms of the missiles we used?
As I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it
15-6
costs the
investigation, but I
taxpayer?
wouldn't tie a cost to that, to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer money was going there. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
Do you even know how much extra Americans are paying for gas and foods because of this war? And that is a very legit question. It is a very fair point, I must say. The fighting and the tensions around Strait of Hormuz, that critical choke point where so much of the world's oil flows, have driven oil prices sky high. Gas prices in the United States are up around 40% in many areas. That extra cost hits every driver filling up their tank, every family buying groceries, and every business shipping products across the country. Khanna and other estimates the broader economic cost, including these higher energy prices, at around $631 billion. That breaks down to roughly $5,000 for every American household. You must think about it. This is a huge number. So think about that for a second. $5,000 out of your family budget. Harvard economist Linda Bilmes has been watching this closely. She is the same expert who was very accurate about long-term costs of Iraq war. She believes that this conflict could easily reach up to $1 trillion or even more. Why? Because wars almost always cost far more than the early projections suggest. In the short term, analysts say we are looking at about $2 billion a day in direct spending. But the long-term costs are what should worry every taxpayer. That includes care for veterans, replacing all the expensive missiles we have used, repairing damaged bases, and supporting our allies in the region. Those bills do not disappear when the fighting slows down. They stretch on for decades. Let's remember what happened with the Iraq war for a moment. Initial estimates were around 50 billion. The eventual cost to American taxpayers topped 2 trillion when you include everything: veterans' healthcare, interest on borrowed money, and lost economic opportunities. Many taxpayers see history repeating itself and they want us to pay attention before it's too late and before numbers get even bigger. Beyond the headline spending numbers, there are huge hidden costs that don't always make the evening news. Iran launched counter strikes against US bases in Kuwait, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Bahrain. The New York Times reported that simply fixing the Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain could cost around 200 million. Other reports suggest the actual damage was significantly worse than what was shared publicly at first. We have also fired way more Patriot missiles than many people realize. Each one cost about $4 million. We have used more of them in this conflict than we sent to Ukraine over several years, all to defend against relatively cheap Iranian drone. And a Shahid drone cost not more than 5,000 to 7,000 US dollar. That's an expensive defensive game. Then you have to factor in reconstruction efforts, additional support for regional allies like UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, and replacing used equipment as well. And at the top, the global ripple effect on supply chain. We haven't talked about it yet. All of this add up quite fast. So this war kicked off after the assassination of Iran's supreme leader right at the beginning. It escalated quickly and has been intense. According to Iran's health ministry, over 3,300 Iranians have been killed. On the US side, we have lost around 14 soldiers with hundreds more injured. These numbers matters. Even casualties carries a human cost and financial one as well, especially when we consider lifetime care for wounded service members. And that cost come from taxpayers' money. So let's bring this home. Why should you and me, and as an American sitting at home, care deeply about these numbers? We should indeed. Higher energy prices do not just mean more expensive gas this month. They flow through the entire economy. Trucking companies pay more to deliver goods, so grocery prices rise. Airlines pay more for fuel, so ticket prices go up. Farmers pay more to run equipment, so food costs increase even further. This kind of inflation is sticky. It can linger for years even after oil prices eventually come down. I'm talking about many families living in the Midwest or on the East Coast or on the West Coast, seeing some relief from the inflation we dealt with few years ago. But this conflict threatens to reverse that effect. Let's talk about your retirement accounts, how they are holding up. Whether it's stock or 401k can feel the pressure when markets get nervous about prolonged instability in Middle East. Wages may not keep up with rising costs, squeezing household budgets even tighter. On the military side, we are burning through advanced munition that are expensive and time consuming to replace. That means future defense budgets will likely stay very high. When defense spending takes up a higher slice of the federal budget, it can crowd out investments in other areas. Things like infrastructure, repairs, healthcare improvements, education, or paying down our national debt. The longer this conflict continues without a clear resolution, the bigger the bill we are passing along to our children and grandchildren. Interest payments on borrowed money for war spending will add even more to that total. Economists point out that these long term costs often exceed the immediate battlefield expenses by a wide margin. We also have to think about opportunity costs. What else could that money have done if it wasn't being spent this way? Small businesses struggling with higher energy costs might hire fewer people. Families might delay buying a home or a car. These individuals' decisions add up to slower economic growth across the country. And then there's the human impact on our troops and their families. Every injured service member represents not just immediate medical costs, but years of rehabilitation, mental health support, and lost earning potential. We have a sacred obligation to take care of those who serve. But we also need to be honest about how expensive that commitment truly is. My honest take after looking at all this information, we desperately need more transparency from the Pentagon and the administration. The $25 billion number sounds too clean and tidy when we see oil prices above $120 a barrel and reports of serious damages to our bases overseas. I must say, wars are relatively easy to start, but they are incredibly expensive to fight and even harder to end cleanly. Why? The human cost on the all side is tragic. American families who have lost loved ones, Iranian civilians caught in the crossfire, and the many other affected across the region. No one should take that lightly. I truly hope the recent ceasefire talks and pauses in operations around the Strait of Hormuz lead to a genuine, lasting peace. History shows that prolonged conflicts drain economies, destabilize regions, and rarely deliver the clean outcomes politicians promise at the beginning. At the same time, we have to be realistic about America's interests in the Middle East and the need to protect our allies and maintain stability in global energy markets. I must say it is a difficult balance. So let me know, what do you think? Is the Pentagon underreporting the true costs to avoid political backlash, or are these critics in Congress and the media exaggerating the numbers for their own reasons? Drop your thoughts in the comment sections. I read as many as I can, and this is a conversation worth having. That was the outlook on the real costs of the US-Israel war on Iran and what it likely means for Americans in months and years ahead. If this video helped you understand the bigger picture beyond the headlines, please give it a like and share it with friends or family members who might benefit from this information. Subscribe to the channel for more honest, straightforward breakdowns on foreign policy, economic impacts, and how decisions made in Washington and around the world that affect your daily life and America's future. Thank you very much. You are watching In Focus with Dr. Adeel. Take care of yourself.